All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Candice, and I'm the director of the Remote Performance Academy with teamit.com. I was watching the news last night and saw this news story that was talking about pay transparency and how there are very few provinces in Canada who actually have legislation related to pay transparency. When I saw it, I thought, I need to talk to somebody about this. And who else would I talk to other than Annika Reinhardt from Talent Collective? She is a compensation strategist. Welcome to this quick impromptu conversation, Annika.
I love impromptu conversations. Those are the best.
I know you do. I know you do. Okay. So, um, first of all, before we dive into your thoughts around pay transparency and things like this, what does that mean actually?
It's actually quite fascinating because pay transparency to me, and often when you see it in um, HR lingo, is actually a spectrum, right? Because it's not like you are transparent or you're not. There is a spectrum of how transparent you might want to be. So companies might either be on the furthest left side of the spectrum, let's say, where all they do, what they're transparent about is here's your paycheck. Right, so you know how much you make, and then they could go all the way to the right end of the spectrum, which is very much like everybody's salary is accessible. They're very open about not only what their payments are, but how much everybody makes. So this is, off now a typical Buffer example. Buffer being a tech company that has practiced radical pay transparency for many, many years. And there are many ways and steps in between around pay transparencies that transparency that companies might to assume that is not one or the other. Right. So it could be being more transparent about the pay ranges internally, externally. It could be being more transparent about pay education with their employees and their managers. So again, it really is a spectrum. It's not a you are or you aren't.
Okay. So, so I feel like there's about 4 different directions we can go in from what you just said, but thank you for providing a little bit of that context. There's a lot of fear about, like, on the part of founders, on the part of, like, just a lot of fear around pay transparency. So, what are some of the most common fears you have, or that you hear? Pardon me, and and are they legit?
Yeah, I think the fear comes from not knowing how to properly communicate these pieces, and potentially not having your house in order, right? Because it's
Mm.
really hard to be pay transparent if you have not thought about, well, what are proper pay ranges in our company? Do we have proper, salary bands? Do we have proper career levels? Are we very clear on with employees? What we're expecting from them in terms of their jobs, and I think that's where the fear comes from is well, are we too high, are we too low, etc., because they haven't done the homework. Right. So that's, I think, a fear that is easily removed, quite frankly, because that is part of any compensation strategy and review and kind of getting you set up. But again, it's like it's incredibly challenging to be transparent with pay if you haven't done the foundational work.
So what is some of that foundational work? I mean, I've heard you talk about compensation philosophy, compensation strategy. I love referring my clients to you because you do incredible work. But like what are some of those foundational pieces?
Yeah, and I mean, it does always start with compensation philosophy, and anybody who's heard me talk about it, like, oh, here she goes again. Right? But because in order to be transparent around pay, it's not just being transparent around the numbers. It is being transparent around how are we doing things around pay in our company, and what that means is being clear on how do you reward and value your people, and the way you reward and value your people is generally written out in your compensation philosophy. In that philosophy, also, you will likely state what is our pay policy. Right? How are we positioning ourselves in the market? So, if I do share ranges with you, you understand what they mean, right? How are we competitive in the market? Are we paying fair market value? How do we want to position ourselves? And then the third piece, you definitely want to make sure you share with employees so that there is not this apples to oranges comparison that I often see is, well, what's your market scope? Are you comparing yourself to all companies
Mm.
out there? Are you comparing yourself to software companies with 25 to 50 employees that are located in Vancouver? What is it that you want to kind of set as your boundaries? Because again, that will drive your pay ranges, and therefore, when you're putting out, becoming more pay transparent, it's very clear how you're setting up your pay and how you're
Mhm.
not, so that employees also don't come with the, but so and so is paying me or wants to pay me this much, or my friend is doing this. Is like acknowledging, like, yes, we understand that that is a possibility out there. However, for our company, this is what we have decided, and here is
Mhm.
how we want to approach that. So again, to me, it starts with a compensation philosophy. After that, really looking at what kind of jobs do we have in the organization? Are they properly documented? Are they properly leveled out? Incredibly hard to build pay ranges if you don't have proper career levels. And from those career levels, then you can build those pay ranges. And generally, my recommendation is still to build what I call a market based salary structure, so that kind of can grow with you, which means then you have salary grades and bands for each job, that then if you choose to, you can have meaningful conversations with folks as to where they land within those bands.
Okay. Amazing. So I have heard leaders say, I don't want to publish it because I want the freedom to be able to be flexible, and I don't want people, because sometimes there's a lot that goes into what we offer some people versus what we offer others. So what would you
Mhm.
say to that objection of, like, no, I don't want to do this because I want flexibility?
It's like, again, go back, you have not done your homework, right? I fully understand that sometimes we go out there in the world thinking we need an intermediate developer. However, then the most amazing senior developer comes along, and now the pay ranges that we had out there might not align. I totally understand that. However, it's also an opportunity to really challenge as people, not people operations professionals, and also as CEOs, kind of challenge your team to be like, let's get more clear on what we truly need. And I think that goes back to, if you don't have proper job descriptions, or what we call job success profiles, knowing what you need, knowing what the success looks
Mhm.
like in this role, yeah, it's pretty hard to say, do I need an intermediate or a senior, if you've never really thought about this. Right. So if you are like, I need an executor, I need somebody to implement, I need somebody to just run with things, well, maybe you don't need a senior professional who wants to strategize, coach, and kind of level up others around them, if you just need an implementer. So maybe what you really need is more of an intermediate level. And with that comes a certain price tag, right? So I would say, again, it's like, that's where I always push back and say, let's challenge ourselves to get clear as much as possible, so that when we are clear and we go out there, we've done the best homework we can. And then still, if there are other amazing candidates that come along, we're like, oh wow, they're clearly not this level, right? They're higher or lower. Then you can always have conversations, say, listen, we wanted to hire for a role with this. However, you're showing up as a senior or as a junior, and let's talk about what that could look like. Right? It's not like a
Mhm.
lost recruitment effort. It's just being clear on, here's what we want right now for this role, and being able to be flexible to adjust if you need to.
Mhm. So good. Annika, thank you so much for weighing in on this pay transparency conversation. If people want to get in touch with you to learn more about how you may be able to help them, how do they do that?
I know on LinkedIn, look me up, Annika Reinhardt at Talent Collective, or just look at talentcollective.co, so you can find out a little bit more about our practices around compensation planning, people operations planning, and advising. And always happy to help out and have conversations and just chats with folks that might have some questions. So feel free to reach out.